Hello and welcome to Where Does Butter Come From? In this video we will cover the following questions. Where does butter come from? Who invented butter? How is butter churned? How butter is made from cows? How did they make butter in the old days? What's the difference between butter and margarine? What's the difference between butter and ghee? What is the difference between butter and cheese?
Where does butter come from? Butter primarily comes from milk, which is typically obtained from cows, although it can also be made from the milk of other mammals like sheep, goats, or buffalo. In the case of cow's milk, the milk is first separated into cream and skim milk, and the cream is then churned to produce butter. During churning, the fat molecules in the cream clump together and eventually form into solid butter. Butter can also be made from cultured cream, which is cream that has been fermented with bacteria to produce a tangier, more complex flavor. Cultured butter is particularly popular in European countries like France and Denmark. Overall, butter is a common ingredient used in cooking and baking, and it has a long history of use in many different cuisines around the world.
Who invented butter? It's difficult to pinpoint exactly who invented butter, as the use of butter and other forms of dairy has been a part of human diets for thousands of years. However, it's believed that the practice of churning cream to make butter likely originated in ancient cultures like the Sumerians and Egyptians, who used animal skins and pottery vessels to store and transport milk and cream. The use of butter has been documented in many different cultures throughout history, including in ancient India, Greece, and Rome, where it was used as a cooking ingredient and for medicinal purposes. Today, butter remains a popular ingredient in many different cuisines around the world and is enjoyed for its rich flavor and versatility in cooking and baking.
How is butter churned? Butter is typically churned by agitating cream, which causes the fat in the cream to separate from the liquid, buttermilk, and form into solid butter. Traditionally, this was done by placing cream in a wooden butter churn and then using a plunger or dasher to agitate the cream. As the cream is churned, the fat molecules stick together and form into small clumps called butter grains. These butter grains then clump together and eventually form a solid mass of butter. Today, most commercial butter production involves using high-speed centrifuges to separate the cream from the milk, and then churning the cream using modern machines that can produce butter more quickly and efficiently than traditional methods.
How butter is made from cows? Butter is made from cow's milk cream. Here is a general overview of the process. 1. Milk is collected from cows and then separated into cream and skim milk using a centrifuge. 2. The cream is then pasteurized to kill any harmful bacteria. 3. The cream is cooled to a temperature of around 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 10 degrees Celsius, and then placed in a butter churn. 4. The churn is then operated to agitate the cream. This agitation causes the fat in the cream to separate from the liquid, buttermilk, and form into solid butter. 5. Once the butter is formed, the buttermilk is drained off and the butter is washed with cold water to remove any remaining buttermilk. 6. The butter is then worked or kneaded to remove any remaining water and improve its texture. 7. The butter can then be salted, if desired, before being packaged and stored. It's worth noting that the specific details of the butter making process can vary depending on the region, the type of cream being used, and the intended final product. Additionally, there are different methods for making cultured butter, which involves the use of bacteria to create a tangier, more complex flavor.
How did they make butter in the old days? In the old days, before modern technology, butter was typically made by hand using traditional methods. Here's a general overview of how butter was made in the past. 1. Milk was collected from cows and then left to sit for several hours to allow the cream to rise to the top. 2. The cream was then skimmed off the top of the milk and collected in a container. 3. The cream was placed in a wooden butter churn or barrel, and a dasher, a long stick with paddles or beaters on the end, was inserted into the churn. 4. The churn was then vigorously shaken or turned to agitate the cream. This motion caused the fat molecules in the cream to stick together and form butter. 5. The butter grains eventually came together to form a solid mass of butter, which was separated from the liquid buttermilk. 6. The butter was then washed in cold water to remove any remaining buttermilk. 7. The butter was often worked or kneaded by hand to remove any remaining water and improve its texture. 8. The finished butter was then either salted or left unsalted, depending on preference, and stored in a cool place. Overall, the process of making butter in the past required a lot of physical labor and time, and the resulting butter was often not as consistent or uniform as modern commercial butter. However, many people today still enjoy making butter using traditional methods as a way to connect with the past and appreciate the art of handcrafted foods.
What's the difference between butter and margarine? Butter and margarine are both spreads that are commonly used in cooking and baking, but they have some key differences in terms of their composition and nutritional value. Butter is made from milk or cream that has been churned to separate the fat from the liquid. It typically contains about 80% fat, as well as some water, milk solids, and salt. Butter has a rich, creamy flavor and is a good source of vitamin A and other fat-soluble vitamins. Margarine, on the other hand, is typically made from vegetable oils that have been hydrogenated to make them solid at room temperature. Margarine may also contain additional ingredients like emulsifiers, flavorings, and preservatives. Margarine typically has a lower fat content than butter, ranging from 40 to 80%, and is often fortified with vitamins like vitamin A and D. One key difference between butter and margarine is their saturated fat content. Butter is high in saturated fat, which is associated with an increased risk of heart disease when consumed in excess. Margarine, on the other hand, may contain less saturated fat or none at all, depending on the type of vegetable oil used in its production. Overall, while butter has a rich flavor and is a good source of fat-soluble vitamins, it is also high in saturated fat. Margarine, on the other hand, may be lower in saturated fat and can be a good option for those looking to reduce their intake of animal-based products. However, it's important to choose a margarine that is made with healthy fats and minimal additives.
What's the difference between butter and ghee? Butter and ghee are both dairy products that are made from milk, but they have some key differences in terms of their composition and how they are made. Butter is made by churning cream, which separates the fat from the liquid. The resulting product is a spreadable, fatty substance with a smooth texture and rich flavor. Butter contains milk solids and water in addition to fat, which can cause it to burn at high temperatures. Ghee, on the other hand, is a type of clarified butter that has been simmered and strained to remove the milk solids and water. This process gives ghee a higher smoke point than butter, making it ideal for high-heat cooking methods like frying or sautéing. Ghee also has a longer shelf life than butter and a nutty, slightly caramelized flavor. Another key difference between butter and ghee is their nutritional value. While butter contains milk solids and water, which can contribute to its cholesterol and calorie content, ghee is pure fat and has a higher concentration of beneficial compounds like conjugated linoleic acid, CLA, and butyric acid. These compounds have been linked to a variety of potential health benefits, including improved digestion, lower inflammation, and reduced risk of heart disease. Overall, while butter and ghee are both dairy products that are made from milk, they have different compositions and are used in different ways in cooking and baking. Ghee is a good option for high-heat cooking methods and has potential health benefits, but it is also high in calories and fat and should be consumed in moderation as part of a balanced diet.
What is the difference between butter and cheese? Butter and cheese are both dairy products that are made from milk, but they have some key differences in terms of their composition and how they are made. Butter is made by churning cream, which separates the fat from the liquid. The resulting product is a spreadable, fatty substance with a smooth texture and rich flavor. Butter is typically used as a spread on bread or toast, as well as in cooking and baking. Cheese, on the other hand, is made by coagulating milk proteins with the help of enzymes or acid, and then separating the solid curds from the liquid whey. The curds are then processed and aged to produce a wide variety of different cheeses, each with its own unique flavor and texture. Cheese is often used as a topping or ingredient in dishes, as well as a snack or appetizer. One key difference between butter and cheese is their fat content. Butter is high in fat, with a typical fat content of around 80%, while cheese can vary widely in fat content depending on the type of cheese. Some cheeses, like feta or ricotta, are relatively low in fat, while others, like cheddar or brie, can be quite high. Another difference between butter and cheese is their nutritional value. Butter is a good source of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, while cheese is a good source of protein and calcium. However, both butter and cheese are high in saturated fat and should be consumed in moderation as part of a balanced diet. Overall, while butter and cheese are both dairy products that are made from milk, they have different compositions and are used in different ways in cooking and baking.
Thank you for watching. I hope this video has been helpful and has answered some of your questions about butter. To help the channel grow, please share and like this video.